Hi everyone, this is going to be a reading on rexheuermann, and I'm going to try not to go into things that you probably already know, but because I don't know much about this case, if I'm honest with you, I just kept seeing recently while I was doing reads and I opened YouTube, rexheuermann's house raided. And the way it was with, I don't know, I thought I saw helicopters and stuff. I was like, who is this person? It was as if it was like a famous person, and as if it was like another Epstein, especially when I heard, is it Gilgo? Is that how you pronounce it? Island? I was like, what on earth? So I thought it was just like an entrepreneur that I'd not heard of. And then when I don't know what it was kind of like Gilgo SK, so think of the words of what he's been accused of, SK, serial K. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So did he have an island or what was it? I feel like those of you that are from the US are like, oh my God, I can't with her. It's so obvious she doesn't know some of this stuff. But it's not an island. And so he's been in the news recently, and it's probably because I do more cases that involves a bit of crime. I was trying to navigate away from it for some time, but it seems to be like what people like, because it can be very draining. Like, I get ill if I watch sometimes some energies of murder trials. But then when I want to have a voice for the truth and people, mainly around kids as well, it seems like these things are coming up. And so because I think there's interjecting energies here, I thought, let me do a read. There's a high potential of, although he is, right, firstly, I don't know, is it just that he's only just been arrested or he's been arrested prior? Because when I tapped in to get, you know, the thumbnails of news, there was stuff like 10 months ago. So was he arrested 10 months ago and they've done further searches? So he's been in prison in the meantime. But I think he thinks, can you imagine what life is going to be like? I think he thinks he's a bit of a David Hasselhoff, but obviously a chubbier one. A David Hasselhoff, and I seem to have come across a comedian that is known in the States. I think, is it Tim Dillon? I think it's a cross between those two, but I definitely think he's a bit of he thinks he's a bit of David Hasselhoff with a tummy. Do you know the energy? I'm going to pull some cards, but do you know the energy I get from him? I get the energy that he's kind of like entrepreneurial. He's not in construction, is he? What is he? It's a bit more fine-tuned than construction. I don't know when this is going to go out, but from my time, I'm recording it on. Is anyone joining me from the UK? Who watched the Trooping of Colours today? And Catherine made appearance. So all of you, I've seen a couple of psychics do emergency readings. Emergency readings, probably because you said she was dead, eh? And where's the kids? And you've just been trying to get loads of money fooling around. Disgusting. But if you're joining from the UK, please let me know, because in my readings, I've mentioned about King Charles really trying to be the best king. I mean, he's 75 years old and he stood in that reign saluting as they went by. He was there on Normandy, he was there on rehearsals, and it must be grueling for him. And I think he's been an absolute rock for Catherine. And then Catherine made her appearance, and just from what I was telling you about the energy, he's really trying his absolute best, going out of where he really sometimes should just be resting, to make sure he's the best for his people. And my view, and also I think he wants to make his mom proud, and I'm starting to warm to him, to be honest. And then also I think he's doing a lot of this because he knows Prince William's under it as well. So I don't want to ruin this and go into that too much, but it was absolutely beautiful as always. The UK really do on these things, like, you really feel proud, and thank God Prince William is the firstborn. There's a reading coming out that I did, I think it was the 9th or 11th of June, and it's about when you see psychic and psychic on facts, it means that there's some educational, either around energy or something around that. So I've done one on Harry that is about narcissism, and it shows that it's Harry and Meghan, but it's actually saved in the psychic general folder as well, because it's also psychic on facts. And this next one is psychic on facts, and it's about looking at the relationship of Harry and Meghan, but I go into their energies and what they're feeding off. So even if you're not a royal fan, that is interesting. So just going back to this, why did I end up in the UK with Rex? Because I was mentioning the date, I think. So currently my time, it is 8:15, and I'm actually traveling for a few days. So 8:15, and I always get this wrong, Pacific and Eastern time, and I can't remember which one, but you'll know from the hours I say. So this is a 9:15 a.m. I believe it's Pacific time. And it will be 12 Eastern. So whichever's behind is my 11 hours at the moment. Normally it's 4 hours while I'm in the UK, GMT, my normal time. So you're looking at 5 p.m. GMT time, basically, on the 15th of June. I'm recording this, so let's see when I get it up. If I can stop blabbing. So what was I getting? Yeah, like entrepreneurial. He'll step in, he'll win the room. He reminds me a bit like a Donald Trump, but the arrogancy of feeling his arrogancy straight up is not there. Trump walks in, this is me as if I've met him. He walks in and there's this filter in front of him of arrogance energy. This is a bit different. This is someone who has that kind of thing that loves to talk about himself or what he's done and what he's achieved, but I feel like it's not his David Hasselhoff kind of him thinking he looks like one that wins the women over. It's he can be very attentive. He can be really attentive and thoughtful. Women, do you know when you meet those men that think of the things that are really thoughtful without having to be, it doesn't necessarily have to be loving, but they truly show they love and care for you these thoughtful ways, like really attentive and caring. So when he'd step into a meeting, he might let a woman go first, but it's not being pervy. But then at times, and it won't be many people that would latch onto this, because I feel like there was two lives. There was his work where that's it, I'm at work, and he's not pervy in that way. And it's kind of like only people that could tune in could be like, his eyes have something that's hidden, or they're not following what he's saying, but mainly it's like there's something behind those eyes, and it's not those serial killer eyes. The other thing I wanted to say, I'm not saying that someone would, do you know how you look at people and they've got those serial killer eyes? It's not necessarily that they felt that. It's like there's something behind those eyes, that there's a secret. And it's not a secret that this person has a trauma or a sad in their life. It's like there's a depth there. There's like a tunnel that's so deep that you know, some people might twig onto it. I don't catch him really staring in a pervy way. do you know what I want to say? Like when I mentioned that I'll do a reading on Wade, is because that actually really affected me. After I did the first reading I've not put up about tapping into his energy before I even saw some of the trial, I'd mentioned in that he's alive. I didn't know who he really was. I knew he was a kill, and but it was kind of like, is he alive or not? It was kind of like with patrons basically, and I was like, this person's alive but his soul's departed. And I don't want to ruin this reading by going into that, but let's say that Idaho 4 that I've never read on, the scene that I always see when I see this is like this serial killer of flip, I've just said it. I don't know what the words are, to be honest with you, on YouTube, but I said the SK. So with the Idaho 4, right, I see like a wolf. It's a man, but a wolf, and there's like blood dripping, and there's high adrenaline. There's meticulous energy here, but really high, fast energy. And there's like blood dripping from the mouth and adrenaline of, do you know in the cold where you see your breath in the cold like that? There's like the wolf is not laughing, but there's like a deep sense of fulfillment there and high on energy. And this guy, Rex, right, I'm going to read the cards, but if it is so, what I get from him is that it was very much the same, but this was quite draining. Like he got so high on the adrenaline and doing these things that and when I say these things is I understand that he's probably been now accounted for, they believe it's 6 women, and the women are escorts, is that correct? And from that kind of industry. But this was actually not the activity of sex that gave him that ultimate high. It's what he did after. I get Jack the Ripper. If anyone's tuning in from the UK, I get Jack the Ripper vibes if I were to match him with someone. And it'd be so high and draining that he would probably need to rest afterwards, because I think what he also did was quite wrong hold, okay? And it wasn't the activity of him actually having sex. So even if they say he's into porn, there's satanism there. It's not about just sex. This is not about sex, it's beyond that, all right? That's what gave him that high or that turn on. But then it was such an adrenaline and turn on, and the meticulous way about it, it would be so draining. Like even the Idaho 4, after that, from doing what he did in a time period, I won't be surprised that if he just had to kind of faint in his car or vomit or wait a few moments because he felt dizzy. This is kind of similar. He'd be so drained. That's what I get from him. I also want to put it out there, I've not seen this, I've not seen much, but he's originally not American, or his parents or someone. I get there's something about it's something about Europe, but Europe, no, I'm not talking Russia, Italy, Spain, France. I'm talking either like Germany, Austria, or Norwegian, Dutch countries. I think there's a background from there. That's just a prediction and a psychic intuitive. So what we're going to do is get into his energy. Now, the thing that I wanted to mention about this is, I think they said this goes as far back as 2010. And I was going to say this is at least 15 up to 20 years. And then when I looked, it said 2010. So I was like, well, I'm not really bringing anything forward, but I did feel like the very least is 15 years. And then those extra 5 years are more scattered. I also feel like he drew it out in seasons, in his own seasons. So he had like a calendar. He didn't do like, let's say, he didn't say, okay, I'm just going to randomly do them. Obviously when he saw a potential find, but this was a bit premeditated. And a bit is probably playing it down. And I felt those seasons really gave him a thrill as he was, do you know when you've got a calendar and then you put, okay, I've got a holiday in 2 months' time? It's kind of like that. I also feel like there's a period of time where he totally stopped. And even though he did this quite sporadically, so it wasn't like all 6 of them in 1 year, was he, because I saw a thumbnail, I think 2 weeks ago, it said two more women, originally 4, so 6. So was he arrested on the basis of 4? And something about a pizza crust having his DNA. What I'm getting at is that I do think that there's been bodies that they will find, or they found, I'm getting will find, that he hasn't unalived. And this is not because he's part of a group that are doing this. No, this is because it is that industry. And the difference will be, so this is where complication comes in, because they will find more bodies. And the complication here is that it will not all be him. Most will be him, and it will be able to tell from the way their body is found. But at the same time, when he, a few years prior, like many years when he first started, and along the way, his way of it, of the sadistic kind of stuff, changed. Like it became more meticulous. He changed it in a certain way. So for example, maybe prior, he would cut up certain areas, and then it eventually got to, actually now I cut up and I disinfect, and then I put this kind of, I don't know why I'm getting baking soda bicarb on it, on the area, and I'm just seeing breasts here removed. I'm just getting that sort of example, and then the disinfectant and the bicarb, and I don't know why, but like these sort of things might trick police into thinking that it's not connected to him. One of the things with Jack the Ripper, I think it was because it was all done very similar, and basically that's the kind of energy. And if you feel I'm going a bit fast, please understand that sometimes I'm channeling. I'm not just like, okay, I think this is number 5, this is the sky is blue, because I had some woman say, can you calm down? And I can't. When I open the channel, if I get messages, I need to catch up with it. And that's why I always say check the description box as well, because sometimes I'm like, I forgot to mention that. And I never watch my videos again because it's cringe. So I get, this is why it's going to be very complex. And when they find bodies and they have a person who's been linked to doing these things, for the law enforcement and the state, it's a lot better to answer. It's not better, but what they'll do to close the cases is they will link it to that person. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be the odd one or couple that is not by him, and not by, so there'll be one that'll be like from someone, and there'll be another one that's been like a mistake that's leaded to, for example, someone taking an escort to have sex, and then he doesn't have the exact money, and she's gone all AWire and said, you know, swearing, cursing at him, and he's just like trying to hold it back. I don't know why I'm getting this story, and it ends up in unaliving her, not premeditated. And so it's those things that are going to be like, this is in the news and they've been able to dump the bodies there. I also get from him that a few people will come forward that they've interacted with him, and it's going to be obvious where his interests lie? What made him kind of passionate about something? And you can see where that was like, okay, this is a bit weird for this person to suddenly be so interested and getting so suddenly engaged in the conversation here. This is freaking me out kind of stuff. The other thing was that I mentioned in the reading about asking if his wife knows. Now remember, disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. And I think it was a few days ago I saw there wasn't a double life, which means they know. But then I think I saw like the daughter's picture, because I think he's got a son and a daughter, hasn't he? But I already felt when I was thinking of it, I already felt she had an inkling. And the energy was like, I'm looking away. And the energy from him is that he loves her, but he loves her as the mother and wife of his children in a traditional way. And he will protect her. So I wonder if he ensured she was out the house, and that was always his strategy, that she wasn't there, but she knew things was happening. I also get something, there was very big clues on his shopping habits and shopping lists that would have given very big clues here. I think there's some sort of tradition as well. It might have started off like him having weird fantasies of sex, and she was like, well, I can't carry this out. And so you can find that weird fantasy maybe with escorts. And then it got into less about, for him, it was less about the sex. The sex was kind of like the foreplay, the warm up. It was kind of like the kiss and the holding hands before the actual sex of what he did, sadistic stuff. They're not very rich, so it's really weird how I got this kind of, but I don't know if that's because of the helicopters hovering over, but I don't see that they live in this kind of mansion or something. It's probably a bit different. The wife's energy, so I saw a picture of her. I think she's kind of like looking out the corner of her eye. She's got a jumper on, and I don't know why women like, listen, it feels good to let you know, take off your bra, but seriously, honestly, if you just wear a bra when you're out, it makes you look from a 1 cent to a $1 or $100. Just a bra, right? Lifting your boobs a little bit. And so she's very weak. You know, I'm going to read on her energy, but she's weak. And the weakness that's in her, I'm not sure if it's from him or something else. She's like kind of a bit defeated, but at the same time, there's something about her that's like, emotionally, she doesn't want anything to do with this. It's kind of like, I don't want to be for, I don't want to be against. Just leave me alone kind of energy. And I think it was out that she was, she's not been involved. I think, is that what they stated? So while I'm blabbing along, so there is going to be potential that they end up, especially if they could kind of get someone else's DNA. I also think, you know, which is not out there, I was going to say he's got a lot of devices, which I think they found. What's interesting is as they test those devices, they're going to find more and more details of stuff. But again, as they find stuff, and they might find other DNA, again, the energy of convicting the right people for the right bodies. Because he got quite tired in all of the process, this process was like, I'm not taking, it's not like you're going on a date night, look like this, candlelight and dinner. It's kind of like, even if you took someone on a date night that he thought could be some of these potential kind of women that would fall for him, it was like the start of it. Or if he faked offering an escort money, he wouldn't give them money. I don't know if they've got money and they just don't show it. The way their external is, they don't show it. I'm not sure what this is about. And I'm being taken again back to his a line of his ethnic origin that I said. So I don't know why I'm saying this. But he didn't pay for all these women he took, basically. And it was long hours. Like, it was the process that he went through that gave him that actual control. And I feel like some of it was OCD, but there's also that checklist that's actually not because of only about control. It's because it was long and draining to do this. If you think of surgeons, and I'm just bringing this up as you know, you don't have to connect it. They only do a certain amount of surgeries per day, and usually if it's quite long hold, it might even be one, or it might be one and a minimal one, right? But I am getting definitely 1 or 2 bodies they find. One is from someone who has unalived someone, not premeditated. And the other one is similar to the story I said. So they're going to have to be careful on who they convict. And if they convict wrecks of everyone, they're going to still find bodies. But he is not the only one that's unalived someone. You know, he might be an SK and got more under his name, but there is Ks out there, and they've used similar dumping areas. So it's kind of like making sure he doesn't forget anything in the moments, okay? Especially, I think at certain times, police might have got so close, or they didn't take things so seriously. And as years go on, it's kind of like, well, this is a cold case anyway, so there's less focus. But I think they came close a few times. And if we think about 15 years ago, did those women have voices where they respected? We need to think of that as well. There's definitely a lot more information to come out. And when I say that, you're probably like, yes, I know. No, there's going to be like bombshells. You know, like in Madeleine Soto's case, the bombshells that are dropping is same. So when I say there's information to come out, I'll say information, but I'll also say like big veil drops. Is he appealing? What is happening? I don't know what is happening. Is he on a trial soon? So I do think he's had help, in the very least, of kind of like turning a blind eye. Let's just look at his energy as a person without saying now or then. So Spirit, I want it as a person his whole life. I don't think he was abused, but there is something that happened that felt him out of power, okay? He's quite a blocked energy. So like Wade Wilson, the Cape Coral SK, his energy's not blocked. He's not there. And most of this, and I'm surprised they didn't plead insanity for him, because he lost his soul and what was done was horrific. But as much as people say he's got SK eyes, it's because his soul's not there. And the DRUGs that he used made some of his soul depart and dark entities come in. And this is what happens. So, and SKs can be very different. Some are quite fast, some are slow at doing what they do. Let's go back to Rex. Rex. It's a bit like a dinosaur's name, right? Spirit, show me his full energy, please.